Hello, right, this is part one really of the build and painting stage and all the rest of it on the Tamiya Thunderbolt Razorback type. What I've done is I've taken everything off the sprue which I need for the cockpit and basically to put the actual fuselage halves together. So what I'll do, turn the camera around, I'm going to prime everything first and then I'll go into the painting stage. I'm not going to film myself doing priming because it's dull. But what I shall do is I shall show you. It's it's run the wrong way, but it's XF80 which I use along with XF19. What else do I do? There's loads of other grades anyway, and I always use Tamiya. I know there's others on the market, each to their own, but I just simply use that to prime. And if I haven't got grey, then I'm stuck. Anyway, that's what I do. So let's turn around, and the next thing you'll see is me on the bench, and I should be doing the painting for the cockpit area. Anyway, go and have a look. Right, just before I do prime everything, yeah, right, Molly, I'll stick the throttle quadrant, I believe it's a throttle quadrant, tiny little bit, which is B1 on the kit. So that's a fiddly job, this one. So literally the 10 extra thin, just tiny blob, and hopefully my sausage fingers will be able to get that in nearly. Get in. Ah, do you know what? Get in. Just go and make yourself a cup of tea if you want. Oh, little shit. Right. Finally, it's in. Right. I'm just going to put a dab of glue underneath, and the glue will shoot all the way around anyway. So that's on. And what I'll do is I've got the gun sight. I've taken the burring off, as in the yeah, you know what I mean. The line, Christ alive, the line that goes across, as in where the moulds are. So I've taken that off, buffed it up, and put the old Tamiya tape over it. And literally, what I'm going to do is pop it on. So literally with that on the back, just slot it in just there, and that's literally just pushed in. Yeah, I know you're impressed, Molly. But safe than sorry. Just a bit of glue. Popped in, leave that a couple of minutes. That'll be rock hard, and that's the gun sight onto the instrument panel. So what I'll do is prime everything now, and I'll get back to you in a minute. Right, throughout the build I shall be using Hataka paints, as in the orange or the lacquer version. So what I'll do is I've already shaken it out quite well, and how I actually thin the paint for myself is I get a little pipette, squeeze what I think I do need, pop that back in, and just squirt, and a bit more of a squirt, and a tiny bit more of a squirt. Back to the thinners, a couple more drops, and that's it. Paintbrush that's dedicated for lacquer paints only, and just vigorously stir it around. Then put the paintbrush to the top of the cup and just let it drip down, and if it goes like opaque almost straight away after you've sort of like released the amount of paint, then that's that's okay for me. So like Phil and everyone else is saying, well, a lot of other people do say, and I'm quite happy to agree, is what ratio do you spray at? I haven't got a clue, mate. Not an igloo, not at all. The only thing I do know that I actually use to spray, my compressor is about 11 psi, and that's it. I've got a Mac valve on the airbrush, but normally it's just like, you know, about between 10 and 15. But at the moment, well, yeah, for quite a while now, it's just been about 11 psi. So what I do, just load it up. Now, a lot of people do say that this is a waste of time, as in when you pre-shade. But when I do my kits, I do like to have like I don't know, a shadowing effect, one for a better word. And it just sort of like adds a little bit more to the kit. Well, it does in my head anyway. I know I've got a funny head, but that's what I see anyway. And literally, it's just a bit of pre-shading. And granted, yeah, you're not going to see too much of this. But once you look into a bit too much paint. Now we've suddenly gone on to a single action airbrush there. That's better. So the needle wasn't pushed in enough. I've just had something delivered about 3 hours ago. Never mind. Yeah, as I was saying, although you're not going to see too much of this, it's just, I don't know, it's just nice, you know, when you look deep into like the cockpit, you know, you can see, you know, well, you know, your efforts. Well, that's how I see it anyway. And that is all I'm going to do. And it's just, that's as simple as that. That's all I'll do. You can judge exactly what you're going to see and what you're not going to see. So, you know, you really don't waste your time. Let's just run edges. And sometimes in the, you know, more the bigger part of, you know, the sparser area, and it's just like a wiggly line. That's all. That's it. Now on the instructions, it does say that there's a panel here, which I can only assume it's like electricals or pumps and whatever it is. It's saying XF7 for, well, flat red. I've looked at pictures of the cockpit, and that's actually black and not red. So all I'm going to do is, with the paint that I'm using, and it's jet black, by the way, that I'm using. I'm just going to paint it, and what I'll do is I'll mask this little bit off, so when we actually go on to the interior green, I should have a nice demarcation around the actual box itself. And again, a good thing about this lacquer paint is it does dry very, very quickly. And if you've not really got into lacquer paints, or you're afraid of them or whatever, and I mean, like, when I say like afraid of them, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Because me myself, because I was so used to Tamiya, that's all I would use. I wouldn't use anything else, just Tamiya. And lo and behold, I thought, well, okay, I'll give it a whirl. And I really haven't looked back since. But don't get me wrong, I still use Tamiya paints, not just for priming. I do use it for surface camouflage or anything. I still regard Tamiya or Tamiya paints to be the easiest to use in the hobby. I say that loosely because I haven't really used anything else, but I can imagine everyone's got their favourite, and Tamiya's mine, and Hataka. Right, so that's the instrument panel basically done as well. So that can dry. I can stick the decal onto there, and I'll basically carry on. I've got the seat, the rudder pedals, and oh yeah, I did get the fuselage halves off. There's a tiny bit in there. Once we've done that, I'll come back and we'll go through the interior green, which is here. Okay, so bear with me, I shall crack on with this. Right. Alright, Molly. So there's people outside. Yep, Molly. Good girl. Yeah, you can bite the legs later on, yeah. Right, with the internal green, basically all I'm going to do is, because I've thinned this paint down quite considerably, a lot thinner than it was for the black, and I'm just going to be a bit slapdash and just chuck it on, bish bosh bosh, and that's it. Just leave it to dry. Get to the next bit. You've got a slight bit of coverage, not much, just a little bit. That's it. Leave it. Then what I'll do is once that's dry, come back to it again, and just do, it'll probably take about 3, maybe 4, just light coats over it, and nothing sort of like to get the pre-shading out, if you know what I mean. You're not going to sort of, spend bloody hours because it's thin. You're not. You just pass, leave it, and just leave it to dry for a bit. I should get back to that in about, I don't know, 2 minutes if I shut up talking. And you just repeat. Go one way, and then the other. Sometimes at 90 degrees, sometimes at 45, but just making sure that you've got coverage. And the easiest way I can sort of like gauge it is, obviously when you're painting, you're putting all your concentration onto that. But if you take it away and just sort of like look away and into like a different light, you can see a little bit more where the prominent black is. So next time when you come around to do it, you can sort of like think, right, I'll go there, I'll miss that bit. You know, it's all really to do with your own eyes and how you want to do it. There's no written rule. So yeah, but that's just how I do it. That's it, bish bash bosh. Right, we'll get back to this part here. Let me just make sure that that is in. Yep. Oh, have you let one go, Molly? You have, haven't you? Oh, God. You stink. Right. All I'm going to do again, there's a bit of a light pass. Now you can see, I mean I can see it, well, the camera's different, but the starkness of the black is like really subdued now. And I might even say that is it. That's all I'm going to do. Let's put it on one. Yeah, because what it is, the black paint, some of it is like trapped within the grooves on the floor. If you put it sort of like, I'm looking at, oh, you know, you can't see it. Oh, hang on a minute. Let me see if I can do that. Yeah, the light's pretty pants at the moment. But you can see the sort of like there's a difference between, you know, the black and the green. If you just move it around a bit, hopefully that's coming out. But anyway, and that's all I'm going to do. Keep going. Won't take me long. Got to do the other bits as well, the seat, you know, the control column and all the rest of it. And once I've done that, hopefully, this should be dry anyway. You know, I can mask that up and basically carry on with the green. So yeah, see you in a bit. Right, while that's drying a little, what I'm going to do is, I'm using the kit decal for the instrument panel. So I'm just going to work my way around. As it's only the one decal, I'm going to use a little pot, just leave it to the side. For when I actually do all the decaling, as in on a hole, what I do use is a little tray for pens and pencils and stuff like that. But it's got my decaling softeners and the set, clean brush dedicated only for decaling, and you know, fill one up with water, and you've got a couple of trays there to stick all your bits and pieces in. So that's all I use. So I'll just put that back in there, and what I'll do is, oh, hang on, I'll need that paintbrush. There we go. What I'll do is just wait for that to come off the backing sheet, and I'll pop it on the old instrument panel. Okay, so see you in a sec. Right, so just apply a bit of water because it's going over, you know, like a rough surface. I just want it to just like skim on the set. Ah! See, me talking and doing something at the same time, it doesn't mix. God's sake. Right. So literally, all I'll do is just pop that off. Just like that. And then, what I need to do is just wet it around a bit and just move it about, so I'm happy with what I've got. And bloody hell, that's exactly where I want it, because basically what I've got is I've got two dials here which go on the the bit that's sticking out near the bottom, and the decal is exactly on that position. So just very carefully just drawing the water out. I can speak properly now, yeah. And then what I'll do is just pop it on the desk there and just nudge it and push it down so it does conform over the dials, but I don't do it too much because I don't want the actual risk of it actually cracking. So to me, I don't need to be able to see it, but it's bubbly, it's creased, it's all the rest of it. But when you put the micro sole, is it sole or is it set? That was right the first time, bloody hell. Once you put that on, obviously it just pulls it all down over to the instrument panel. So let me just dry that brush off a little. So I do put this on quite liberally, I'll just chuck it all on. Normally I would say two to three. If it's a stubborn decal, maybe about 4 or 5 coats, and that's it. Literally, you just leave it to dry now. Once that's dry and it's gone right over the actual raised parts where the instrument dials are, what I'll do is I'll very, very lightly go over it, or dry brush it with a light grey, and that's literally a couple, and that's it. I don't bugger about with it because I don't want to completely smother the decal on it, but it's just basically around the edges of the instrument panel. And once that's done, all I do is get a bit of crystal clear, get a cocktail stick and file it down with one of the files so it's got quite a decent point on it, and just dip it into the crystal clear and just literally just dot where the instrument panels is, or the dials. And once that's dry, you can pretty see, yeah, it's quite good actually. You can see the different contrast between the actual where the crystal clear is and where the rest of the decal is, because you've got that contrast as sort of like a satin or a matte satin more, and then you've got, like, you know, your dial, if you know what I mean, that glass bit. So when you look into the cockpit and at different angles, you can see that difference, and sometimes the light catches it. It's quite a good effect. It really does bring it out. So yeah, so what I'll do now, I don't know how much of this video that I've shot, I'll start getting things sorted out. I'll do some dry brushing, and hopefully be able to capture some more of the stuff that I'm doing. Cool beans. Right, that's it for part one. I don't want to kick the arse out of it, as in do like 3 hours of videos and you've fallen asleep. You haven't fallen asleep already. So what I'll do is, in the interim, I shall carry on with the cockpit, get what I can done, and do what I've already explained. Get the little bits and pieces of the internals for the fuselage, as in the wing spars and other bits and pieces. And what I can't video, what I'll do is I'll take some stills, and again I shall add it below this video. Alright, so yeah, cool blimey governor. Yeah, you alright, Molly? She's got to be up with me now. Anyway, right, you take care of yourselves. Hope and modelling, hope your bills are going well, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Okay, till then, ta-da.